Welcome to the Dynasty Dugout Show, a podcast covering all things minor league baseball. Get a front row seat to the action with everything you need to know about the future stars of Major League Baseball. And now, here's your host, Chris Clegg.
Hello and welcome to the Dynasty Dugout Show. It is so good to be back with you. After my trip to Florida, I'm home, back in my office, and ready to talk some baseball. A full week of spring breakout, backfields, 14 games in 6 days. I got a lot to talk about and cover this week, but I'm going to do an episode breaking down each spring breakout game. Obviously, starting with the first one. So today we're going to break down the Red Sox and the Rays spring breakout game, which was electric, probably the best game of the week on at least the west side of Florida that I saw, the 5 I went to. But before we dive in, this episode is brought to you by Connect Roasters. Connect Roasters is Ian Happ's coffee company, and Connect Roasters brings an incredible smooth blend of coffee. They have a lot of great options on the site, but you can get Ian Happ's Gold Glove blend today. Buy one, get one 50% off by going to Connect Roasters, using the code Dynasty Dugout at checkout, or using the link in the description. Let's jump right in. Red Sox, Rays, loaded, electric, everything you could have asked for. The Red Sox, we had home runs from all of the big three, Roman Anthony, Kristian Campbell, and Marcelo Mayer. So that was fun. The Rays had some electric players as well. Chandler Simpson looked the part. Carson Williams homered. Everything you want to see. So we'll break down the pitchers first, just because they're fun to talk about. I'll kind of go through pitch by pitch, looking at some of the arms, what happened, because there is a lot to know. Connelly Early grabbed some highlights for the Red Sox. Early, somebody that I've seen dating back to his first start last year in Pro Ball. He was a college draftee in 2023 out of Virginia. He's a pitchability lefty with not big stuff. Good changeup, good slider, but Early now is ticked up. So Connelly Early in 3 innings, so that's notable too. A lot of guys throw an inning in spring breakout. Early threw 3 innings, and across his 3 innings of work, Early set almost around 94. I had a lot of early starts last year. The highest I had him at was 94, so to see him top at 96 and sit near 94 is pretty notable. He mixed the arsenal pretty well. Got the video going here. He threw 7 changeups. He threw 13 sliders. He generated 4 whiffs and 7 called strikes. Obviously, fastball dominant, but the slider looked really good too. You look at the breakdown of how it played. You know, he threw fastballs often early in the counts, but he threw some good changeups, especially he threw them against lefties, which is interesting. Early's a left-handed arm, but he did throw some changeups down and in on lefties, but also to the right-handed batters. That lineup was loaded with lefties, top to bottom, the Rays was, so not a great opportunity for him to throw that changeup, but he gets heavy fade, good action on it, and Early pitched pretty well. You know, he did allow 2 runs, but they were both unearned, which is of note. He struck out 2, he walked 1, and allowed 3 hits. It wasn't flashy, but Early looked really good. He was somebody all winter and into the early parts of spring that we were getting reports that Early was ticking up, and he certainly looked the part in the spring breakout game. Jackson Baumeister of the Rays. Baumeister was the starter for the Rays. He was traded to the Rays last year from the Baltimore Orioles, part of that Zach Eflin deal, and Baumeister can shove. He didn't put up a flashy stat line. He pitched just 2 innings, but he did not allow a hit or a run or a strikeout. He did walk 1 batter. So Baumeister looked good in the start. The fastball set in 95, 97 range. A lot of fastballs early. He was over 50% in usage on that fastball. He threw it pretty often first pitch, generated 3 swinging strikes. He dropped in a couple curveballs and a changeup as well. The curveball dialed back to like 77, and the changeup set in the mid-80s, 85 to 87. Baumeister's a very good arm. He's got the stuff. He's pretty electric. Gets good extension down the mound. He's kind of a deceptive delivery as well. It's all about command with Baumeister. He saw a jump with command after going to the Rays last year. I kind of had questions. Was this like something they changed last year? Looked at the pitch data. There was no release point change. Nothing really changed. I wonder if it's just a philosophy change of more saying, hey, just go pound the zone and throw strikes. Throw it down the middle. He threw 33 pitches that I recorded. I chart every pitch during games. And he threw strikes, which was good. You want to see the strike throwing, and the numbers looked good there as far as that went. So he's still from a higher, deceptive three-quarter slot. The fastball early in the game, he missed high, but he settled in and looked pretty good overall. So then after Baumeister pitched, the Rays brought in Trevor Harrison. Harrison was a kind of, I won't say he's pop-up, but he was not a super highly ranked prep arm, but they drafted him in 2023. He had a really good 2024 at the complex and single A, and he came out firing bullets. The results weren't good because he did allow 2 home runs. He allowed back-to-back shots to Marcelo Mayer and Kristian Campbell, but he was grooving the fastball. The fastball set 96 to 98 pretty consistently. Yeah, I was looking back to see where he topped at, but he was throwing gas in his inning of work. He also showed a good slider in the upper 80s. He used a changeup, 86, which missed some bats. He did get a couple of whiffs on the changeup, which was encouraging. You know, he I won't say the fastball was bad. The shape's fine. I'm not all that worried about Harrison. I think there was some overreaction because he did allow those home runs. Listen, those were really good hit balls. Campbell got a fastball up and away and hit it out of the park. It was 96, I think, and Myers was 98 and turned on it. And the location on Myers' home run, it wasn't like the best. I want to pull up the chart and see. But I mean, Campbell's he had to get it. And Myers was kind of left over the plate a bit. But at the end of the day, I didn't think it was, that bad of a location. I didn't have that many issues with what Harrison did and where he pitched. He just got beat by 2 soon to be major leaguers. Harrison's very early in his development. He throws strikes, which is impressive for his frame. So I like Trevor Harrison a lot and think that there was a lot to like there in that arsenal. Obviously, he's going to be tainted by the fact that he allowed those couple home runs, but I'd expect more in the season from him. He probably goes back to single A. He may start in high A. We'll see, but I'd guess Charleston for a couple of months, then goes to Bowling Green. The Red Sox, they brought in Brandon Clarke after Connelly Early pitched. And Brandon Clarke, while the stat line may throw you off because he allowed 3 earned runs over 1 1/3 inning, I honestly would not be concerned about that a bit. He was electric. Brandon Clarke was so much fun. He honestly got BABIP to death is really what happened. He allowed a ground ball single to Cooper Kinney to start the inning. And then Emilion Pitre force out, which sent Cooper Kinney to second. He walked a batter, his only walk batter of the day. Another ground ball from Homer Bush between the gap. It went to right field, or his opposite field, ground ball. Homer Bush stole. Chandler Simpson had a sac fly, which allowed Kinney to score. At that point, Clarke had hit his pitch limit for the inning, so they put Cooper Adams in. But then he came back out in the 5th inning. Clarke came back, and that inning, he looked much more comfortable. He struck out Matthew Etzel, called strike, swinging. Cooper Kinney called, swinging. He did allow a single to Emilion Pitre, high hit tool guy, and then he struck out Kenny Piper with called, swinging. So Clarke, electric. He was sitting 98 on the fastball, and he generated whiffs. He got whiffs on the fastball. Lefty, very loose arm action, just very good stuff. The fastball played exceptionally well. I was looking to see the top velo that I had for him on that fastball. I think it was 99.2 or 99.5 is what I have him topped at. So nearly triple digits. This kid was a JUCO 5th rounder last year. Not a lot of buzz, not a lot of money, but Clarke's been long on my radar. The stuff is electric. Obviously, he showcased it there in the game. The fastball was working. He throws a sweepy slider, which looked really good. The tighter slider was in the upper 80s. The sweeper was in the mid to lower 80s, and even threw an upper 80s changeup as well. I don't know. I think if Clarke can develop more command, he could be electric. I mean, that was full showcase. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. Brandon Clarke looked like a dude. So very much in on Brandon Clarke. I'm excited to see what he does this year. He probably goes to Single A Salem for a little bit and then goes to Greenville. But Clarke looked like a guy that you want to get in on because the stuff was good. Hunter Dobbins came in and pitched. Dobbins is on the verge of a major league call-up at this point. He's got 6 pitches, a good fastball, set mid 90s, 95, 96. He's got a good split, good curve, a lot of good pitches. Blake Wehunt, who I've talked a lot about, was in Greenville last year. Big 6'7" frame, very strong. He came in, struck out 2 over the final inning, but did allow a run, and he allowed the home run to Carson Williams. On the other side, we do have a couple more Rays to talk about. J.J. Goss came in. Not a lot to take away there. I like Goss. He's okay, but we want to talk about Santiago Suarez, who, honestly, Suarez was like a bulldog on the mound. I've seen Suarez at his best. I've seen Suarez at his worst. I had a Santiago Suarez start last year that he allowed 9 earned in Columbia, but the stuff, you could always tell that it was there. He pitched fine. I thought he pitched well. He did allow the home run to Roman Anthony, and honestly, like, that was none of his own fault. Like, Anthony was in the zone. I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but Suarez did strike out a batter over his 2 innings of work. He allowed 2 hits and that 1 run. The fastball worked 96 to 97 mostly, and he sat there pretty much the whole start. He showed kind of his entire arsenal. He showed the upper 80s changeup, which looked good. He threw his slider. That's sitting in the upper 80s as well. You know, Suarez is a guy that, honestly, like, it feels like a bit of prospect fatigue at this point, which is crazy because of how young Santiago Suarez is. But, like, he popped at the complex in 2023. People were kind of excited about him. He was good in Charleston last year, very good, but this is a deep race system, and so sometimes guys get skipped or not talked about as much, but Suarez is as good as any pitcher in the system. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Really good stuff across the board. You know, he generated a lot of called strikes, landed some good spots. He was kind of heavy on the fastball, but at the end of the day, like, that fastball is going to play. It's a high riding pitch from his release height. I think Santiago Suarez is really, really good. So then Gary Gill came in and followed Suarez, and he threw 1 2/3 innings. And honestly, like, Gill was not on his game. I like Gary Gill a lot. I think he's a very good arm. He had some ups and downs. He walked 2 batters. The command on the fastball was very spotty. Like, he missed his spots, like, quite often with the fastball. And I'm pulling up my charting for the game to kind of see and remember where exactly, you know, the strike rate on the fastball was. But, you know, ultimately, I walked away. It was everything I saw from Gary Gill last year. Like, the results were still good. He threw the fastball a lot, as I mentioned, but 15 strikes and 12 balls. That's not ideal. It worked 94 to 96 mostly. And he held it. He set 95 even later in the start. Had some 93s in there, but he still hit 94 on his last pitch of the game, which was encouraging. You know, he threw a sweeper down in the upper 70s, low 80s range. He threw the mid 80s changeup as well, and even threw a tighter slider in the mid 80s. So Gary Gill has a legit approach. I mean, he's got quite a few pitches to work with, but the fastball command is what kind of got me. He did generate 6 whiffs. That was encouraging. Like, where he missed bats with the fastball. I mean, in this first inning of work, you know, 3 of his 4 whiffs in that first inning were on the fastball, the other being on the slider. And in the second inning of work, he missed more bats with the fastball too. He missed another with a changeup. So, yeah, I think Gary Gill's good. Again, this is a showcase event. Like, yeah, there's not a lot to take away and say, like, oh man, like, he was bad, we should be concerned. I don't think that's the case at all. Trevor Martin mopped up 1 out after Gary Gill came out, and Paul Gervais came in the last inning, got the save. Gervais electric. He was a lot of fun. Big fastball, good secondaries, unique kind of release point. He might be a really good reliever in the future. He struck out 2 in a clean inning of work. So that's the pitchers. Let's take a break and then dive in on the hitters. So yeah, the hitters of this game, electric is how I describe it. Roman Anthony did Roman Anthony things. So every at bat, this guy, one Rays fan, decided he would chant overrated at him. And by the time Anthony hit the home run in the 5th inning, I think it was, he'd got some more support behind him. And so there was a handful of people yelling overrated, loud enough where it made it on the broadcast. And Anthony sent a ball to the moon. This home run, you know, there's no Hawkeye running. We didn't have live StatCast, but it was reported to me 110, 435, 110 miles an hour off the bat, 430. And I'm not kidding when I tell you, I thought it was 116 off the bat. Like, the sound on it, like, obliterated. I'll pause real quick because you can just hear the sound and watch this video. Yeah, I mean, that sound off the bat, insane. So Roman Anthony, at this point, like, I wouldn't be shocked if Anthony breaks camp with the team. I think it's 50-50, but I really believe this is a real possibility that Roman Anthony could be on the opening day roster. Keeping him down for a month doesn't make sense. He's not going to get a chance at the Rookie of the Year or the PPI pick for the Red Sox, that is. But he's a dude. I mean, he does everything you want to see. He's got discipline. He's got power. He runs well. I've written about Anthony since I saw him in Salem, really since the draft. Like, I loved him out of the draft. So Anthony, certified dude. Kristian Campbell, he hit the opposite field bomb. It was smoked as well. He got that 96 mile an hour fastball and just went the other way with it. Campbell, another guy. I mean, again, we talked about him all last year. Not a lot to say, but he looked the part. He's still getting run as the second baseman with the big league team in spring training. So, Campbell might be the opening day second baseman. He had struggles early in spring training. People were flipping out over 14 plate appearances. Who cares? Spring training plate appearance doesn't matter. This was a young kid getting his feet wet against major league pitching. Not worried a bit. And there's Marcelo Mayer, the final of the trio of the big three. He had a moonshot too. I mean, Mayer's got the bat speed. Mayer's got the power. It's the hit tool is kind of the question. He's silky smooth at shortstop. The athlete's average. He's an average runner, but he just makes plays look easy, and he's got a big arm at short as well. Honestly, Mayer might be their third baseman in the future, but he's going to get shortstop run early in his career. I'd guess he's getting some run at second base too. They want to see the versatility and see what they got in him, but Mayer hit the big home run. Yeah, it was really good stuff. He's got to hit breaking balls. The power's legit. Last year, he topped at 114 and a half and at a 106 and a half 90th. Those are big time marks. It's just he had a 30-some% whiff rate against breaking balls, and we need to see that improve. The in the zone whiffs against breaking balls needs to be cleaned up a bit, but Marcelo Mayer looks like a guy. Others from the Red Sox lineup, Mikey Romero. Mikey Romero is kind of a guy that's I don't say he's a tweener, but like he's had his flashes of brilliance. He's also had some not great moments as well. He's been hurt a lot, some back injuries, but Romero had 2 hits, including a double in spring breakout. And he continued to impress the next day. The Red Sox played another spring breakout type game against the Twins the next day, and he continued. I think he had a home run in that game. So Mikey Romero is somebody to watch. Third baseman with Mayer at short, but he plays short as well. For me with Romero, there's still a lack of power. He doesn't hit the ball super hard on the high end. The contact skills, they're above average, and Romero's an average athlete, but I think Romero could see a step forward this year. Blaze Jordan hit a couple balls hard. Unfortunately, he scorched the first 2 batted balls right at Carson Williams at short. So we didn't have the StatCast. They were hit hard. Miguel Blyce, he walked and scored. Brooks Brannon's an underrated player in the system, catcher, but a really good bat. The catcher skills need to improve, but still I think Brooks Brannon's a great bat. He hit some really hard balls in the AFL, quite a few over 110 miles an hour. And again, shorter, strong frame, but really good bat. And some of the guys that came in the end, we didn't get great looks for, but Franklin Arias, he certainly added some weight. He's still got room to fill out. Arias, if he sees another step forward with the power, he had a 102 and a half 90th percentile EV last year, which is good. You like to see that from a 19-year-old, especially in complex and then a single A. He may have been 18 actually, but hit tool's good, approach is good. Arias looked the part, just 1 trip to the plate though. Yoenis Cespedes is interesting. He's bulked up even more, and he really didn't need to. The frame's interesting for his height. He's like 5'8", but he's bulk. He's big boy. He's got juice. He's got strong forearms and biceps. Cespedes is fascinating. He's probably a second baseman long term. He's not going to play. He don't have the arm for third. I don't think he's not athletic enough for short. And then Justin Gonzalez, he struck out to end the game, but Gonzalez, man, this kid's up to like 6'6" now. He's got some serious juice, and he had a home run the next day in Fenway South in the spring breakout. They played against the Twins. Justin Gonzalez looks like a guy. He popped off in the DSL, and then he coming stateside now. I think he's more than ready. Does he play the complex? Probably, but he's going to be in single A soon, despite being fairly young. All right, to the Twins. Twins bats had a lot of good names as well. Chandler Simpson led off. Simpson laid down a gorgeous bunt. He also hit the ball hard several times to the outfield. That was encouraging too. And I will say that Chandler Simpson played a very strong outfield. That had to improve, guys. I know everybody was just like, oh, Simpson's an automatic guy. Like all offseason, they're talking about like, oh, he stole 100-plus bags. Like he's going to be on the roster. He's got elite contact skills. Simpson's defense was not great last year, but he took a stride forward. And I think with that improvement, then yeah, he's ready. On his bunt, clocked him 3.58 home to first. That's absurd. Like that's 90 great speed. That's elite. So Chandler Simpson, fastest baseball player I've ever seen in my time doing this. Like elite speed. Carson Williams looked the part too. Williams, he did have some whiff against breaking balls. That was to be expected. But he walked, and he had 2 hits, including a big-time home run towards the end of the game, which impressive as well. Home run off of Blake Wehunt. Williams is a guy. He's got power. He's got speed. He's a Gold Glove shortstop. But with Williams, we need to see some improvement with the contact against breakers. Just much like I said it with Marcelo Mayer. But, again, good performance. Brayden Taylor, he struck out twice, and he had a hit. Taylor's always just been a guy that's kind of average to me, average across the board. He looked better in the field at third base than I've seen him in the past. So that was an encouraging sign that he does look a little better in the field because he's going to have to. Like with the Rays and with everything kind of being average, like you certainly want to see Taylor be a decent glove. And he looked good. He had a strong arm, made a couple plays. So that was good. Cooper Kinney, he continues to hit. He's got a big frame, but not a big power hitter. Kinney had 3 hits in the game, which was encouraging to see, including a double. The Rays' only 2 extra base hits were the Carson Williams homer and the Cooper Kinney double. But Kinney just put the bat on the ball. And every time I've seen Cooper Kinney, that's what he does. He just puts the bat on the ball and makes things happen. So Kinney, very solid player, not flashy. He DH, but he plays a lot of second base. Emilian Pitre, draftee last year, I think second rounder, played second. They put Adrian Santana in there as well. So Kinney DH the whole game. You know, he's kind of positionless in a way, but I do think he can handle second. He could even play first in a pinch. And Homer Bush Jr. is the last bat I want to highlight. Homer Bush Jr. is a good player. He gets vastly underrated in this system. He was with the Padres. He missed some time hurt. I saw him last year after the trade to the Rays and was impressed. Homer Bush has got really good skills. And you look at Bush, you look what he brings to the table, and I was like, yeah, this guy can fly. At one point, they had Simpson on second and Bush on first. Or I think it was outside way around, excuse me. Homer Bush on second and Chandler Simpson on first. And they did a double steal, and it wasn't even remotely close. Like, they threw down a third, and Bush can fly, too. Like, he's a great runner, good contact, and he's got a better frame than you might think. And I thought that the first time I saw him, I was like, this frame's pretty good with Homer Bush. So, yeah. Homer Bush, sneaky little player. He stole 2 bases in the game. Simpson stole 1, and Emilian Pitre had a steal as well. Miguel Blyce had the only steal in base for the Red Sox. But that was the spring breakout game. It was electric. Like, the atmosphere was good in Port Charlotte. The intensity on the Roman Anthony home run was wild. It was just a good game all around with a lot of good pitchers and a lot of good hitters and good gloves. Like, a lot of good plays in the field as well. So, really good game. That's the Red Sox and Rays, and that's going to do it for today's edition of the Dynasty Dugout Show. Be sure to subscribe to the Dynasty Dugout. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well and the podcast, whichever platform you get it on. There's a lot of good content coming. I spent a lot of time on the backfields. I had 9 backfield games this week, and that's where there's a lot of valuable information. So got a lot of good info coming your way. But thanks for tuning in and hanging out with me today. That's going to do it, and we will see you tomorrow.